Well, howdy ho there, folks. How are we doing today? Hopefully, you're all doing absolutely peachy keen, wonderful, fantastic. Hopefully, you're all having a great time. So, before we get into the lesson today, we're just going to mention. So, in a previous video, or well, I recorded this one after the other one. I was talking about I was a little bit frustrated with Elden Ring because I was fighting Malekith and I was doing bad, but I came back to it after a while and it was good. Only problem was, well, not really a problem, but I have a save on my laptop and I have a save on my desktop. And the one on the laptop was not matched with the desktop one in the cloud save. So I changed it to accept the laptop cloud save because the last one I remembered was I played a bunch of Nirmala, the mage one, and I wanted to keep up where she was. So then it set this character, the other one, Zenobia, back, which is perfectly fine because then I got to go and do the Golden Order quest, and I also got to go and do a bunch of other things, and I got to get the Dung Eater puppet, which is very helpful. Anyway, so that's just kind of the backstory of what you're going to be seeing on screen. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about chapter 12 in the Bhagavad Gita, which talks about Bhakti Yoga. And first, though, I wanted to share a little prayer, and I know I've shared this one before, but I always really like coming back to it. This is the prayer of St. Francis. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen. And I've just always like coming back to that prayer because it's one of my absolute favorite prayers. And for the translation of the Bhagavad Gita that I'm going to be going with today, it is the Holy Bhagavad Gita on Swami, I think this is Swami Muktananda's. Yes, this is Swami Muktananda's site. So I'm pretty sure it's his actual site. I don't know if he owns it or if he just writes for it. I think he owns it, or his ashram owns it. I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, so we're going to read a little bit of this, and we're going to get into it now. So yeah, let's get started. So this is Bhagavad Gita chapter 12, and this is verse 1. Arjuna inquired, between those who are steadfastly devoted to your personal form and those who worship the formless Brahman, whom do you consider to be more perfect in yoga? The Lord said, those who fix their minds on me and are always engaged in my devotion with steadfast face, I consider them to be the best yogis. So this is saying, at least in these first two lines here, it's saying that someone who is like very devoted and doing devotional work rather than simply, doing the intellectual work is kind of more advanced in yoga and more advanced in like the path, according to the Bhagavad Gita. And then it says, but those who worship the formless aspect of the absolute truth, the imperishable, the indefinable, the unmanifest, the all-pervading, the unthinkable, the unchanging, the eternal, and the immovable, by restraining their senses and by being even-minded everywhere, such persons engaged in the welfare of all beings also attain me. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifest, the path of realization is full of tribulations. Worship of the unmanifest is exceedingly difficult for embodied beings. But those who dedicate all their actions to me, regarding me as a supreme goal, worshiping me and meditating on me with exclusive devotion, O Parth, I swiftly deliver them from the ocean of birth and death, for their consciousness is united with me. Fix your mind on me alone and surrender your intellect to me. Thereupon you will always live in me. Of this there is no doubt. And just to clarify, what Krishna is saying here is he's not saying that, you can't attain Brahman or God. You can't attain God by like focusing on the unmanifest, and that you have to focus on the manifest or the personal embodiment of God. Krishna's not saying that. It's more that for people like us, especially for those who are like, living in the world and who wish to have a relationship with God. It's much better to treat God as this personal being, because God is both the personal and the impersonal. It's both, actually. And that there is a great joy to be found in this. It makes it a lot easier for someone to focus. And I personally really found this to be true. I spent years doing, well, just a few years, not like a ton, doing like specifically Buddhist meditation. And lots of Buddhist meditation and focusing on the unmanifest was very helpful for me. But I found that in terms of like getting further along on my spiritual path and getting further along in devotion and things like that, it was a lot better when I started praying to a personal form of God and asking for, devotion and blessings and help and things like that, and trying to focus on that more. I found that it was much more effective. For instance, when I was doing various things, when I'm eating various things, I dedicate everything I'm eating to, Kali or Krishna or Christ. I think they're all actually one and the same in the ultimate sense, and that the various different aspects of God that we worship are all actually going back to the same indescribable divine being, the truly grand overall being. And so I'll dedicate whatever I'm eating to God at that time, and I'll always be trying to fix my mind on God no matter what I'm doing. And like, even when I'm trying to play Warhammer, and sometimes I'm not always the most successful with this, but when I'm trying to play Warhammer, or trying to paint, or trying to draw, or trying to play video games, I try to remember God and remember God in everything I do, even, things like playing a video game, even like things like, playing Elden Ring, like you see here. I'm trying to remember God and trying to remember, the good things. And I'm trying to, like, live a good life in all things, even in the video game, because I think that, reinforcing habits, even in just like the silly things you do, like your play and stuff like that, is actually a good thing. And trying to reinforce the notion that you should, not operate in hatred or not operate in anger or anything like that, I think is very true and very helpful. And I have also found that by doing this, I've gone a lot further. Specifically, though, the main thing I'm advocating, and I think Sri Krishna is advocating here, is that it's a lot easier. Oopsie. It's a lot easier to get further along if you do this, and you focus on the personal form rather than the impersonal. And once again, that doesn't mean that you can't, just go strictly for Brahman and, like not do anything else, but it does. I personally know, so it has helped a lot to focus on God with form, and like the personal form of God instead of the impersonal. And then here in verse 9, Sri Krishna continues, "If you're unable to fix your mind steadily on me, O Arjun, then practice remembering me with devotion while constantly restraining the mind from worldly affairs. If you cannot practice remembering me with devotion, then just try to work for me. Thus performing devotional service to me, you shall achieve the stage of perfection. If you are unable to even work for me in devotion, then try to renounce the fruits of your actions and be situated in the self. Better than mechanical practice is knowledge, better than knowledge is meditation, better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action, for peace immediately follows such renunciation. Those devotees who are very dear to me, who are free from malice towards all living beings, who are friendly and compassionate, they are free from attachment to possession and egotism. Equiposed, sorry, I read that word in my brain at a moment. Equiposed in happiness and distress, and ever forgiving, they're ever content, steadily united in me in devotion, self-controlled, of firm resolve, and dedicated to me in mind and intellect. Those who are not a source of annoyance to anyone, and who in turn are not agitated by anyone, who are equal in pleasure and pain, and free from fear and anxiety, such devotees of mine are very dear to me. Those who are indifferent to worldly gains, external and internally pure, skillful without cares, untroubled and free from selfishness in all undertakings. Such devotees of mine are very dear to me. Those who neither rejoice in mundane pleasures nor despair in worldly sorrows, who neither lament for any loss nor hanker for any gain, who renounce both good and evil deeds, such persons who are full of devotion are very dear to me. Those who are alike to friends and foe, equiposed in honor and dishonor, cold and heat, joy and sorrow, and are free from all unfavorable associations, those who take praise and reproach alike, who are given to silent contemplation, content with what comes their way without attachment to the place of residence, whose intellect is firmly fixed in me, and who are full of devotion to me, such persons are very dear to me. Those who honor this nectar of wisdom declared here, have faith in me, and are devoted to me, and intent on me as the supreme goal, they are exceedingly dear to me. So, this is like the whole path of Bhakti Yoga in like one chapter, in just these 20 verses of the Bhagavad Gita. That's one of the reasons the Bhagavad Gita is so cool, is because it has like all these different paths. It talks about Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga. It talks about all the different paths, and Jnana Yoga, of course, all in one place, and it makes it so that you can really kind of see that and really kind of focus on the Lord in all of these different manifestations. And I also think it's pretty neat because if you think about it, where he says that you should be, equal to like friends and foes alike, it always reminds me of the verse where Jesus says, you need to love your enemies, for if you just love those who love you, where's the reward in it? It's like you gotta love both. You have to be willing to share that love and that devotion that the heart yearns for, and the heart yearns for the Lord. And that's like really, really neat to see. Like you're trying to treat everybody equally, and it also reminds me of the verse from the Tao Te Ching where he's like, no one is especially dear to the sage. He treats everyone like straw dogs. Everybody's equal. And like that's what one of the things you're really trying to do, is you're trying to treat everybody as equal, and everybody has like the same meaning and love to you, and they all have the same you have the same understanding and desire to see all of them in a good spot, and taking whatever comes. That's another thing, is that what Sri Krishna is really trying to tell us here is that things are going to happen, right? But you situate yourself in the Lord, and you're willing to take whatever comes, and you're willing to kind of deal with whatever comes, and you're always willing to remember the Lord in every instance, even instances where you're having a great deal of difficulty. You still remember God, and you're still always like come back to the Lord. And like there's so much wisdom in the Gita. The part of the reason I like the Gita so much is that, and part of the reason I like the Upanishads as well, like a lot of Vedanta in general, is that a lot of the Upanishads and things like the Gita and all these other teachings are A, very straightforward in a lot of ways, and B, they're pretty short. You can read the Gita, like I have an audiobook version that I go through on a regular basis, and I can basically go through the whole Gita, well, minus the first chapter, in I think like an hour and 10 minutes. And the reason I say minus the first chapter is because the first chapter is kind of just set up. There's nothing wrong with reading the first chapter, obviously, but I tend to find that from the second chapter onwards, that's where I get a lot more out of it. And if you're trying to listen to it on a regular basis, like there are some weeks where I will listen to the Gita every day, and then there's other weeks where I'm kind of like doing like the Tao Te Ching every day, or I'll be reading like the Astravaka Gita is one that I really like as well, and I spend a lot of time reading, and it's all these different texts really help out and really kind of give you a lot of different information to work with. But you'll find that I can't remember, I had to look what chapter it's in, but Astravaka is actually mentioned, and Janaka is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. Let's see here. Let's just do Okay, I did find it. It's chapter 3, verse 21 in the Bhagavad Gita. Janaka has mentioned. But, all these texts are connected together. You can do a lot if you study multiple different texts rather than any one individual text. Oh, and just come on the video for just a second. I ended up going with the Golden Order ending this time for no reason other than I apparently just didn't have it. And I now have 38 of 42 achievements for Elden Ring. I think the other ones are like Fia's ending and the Curse ending and the Fiery ending. I don't think I've ever gotten any of those. I don't know what they all are. Anyway, that's why I ended up going with the Golden Order ending. But so yeah, you can really focus on the Lord, and I really like the Bhagavad Gita, and I revisit this chapter on a regular basis. But like he's telling you that you should restrain your mind and not just constantly engage in worldly pleasures. Tantra is kind of interesting because Tantra will mention like taking like worldly pleasures, but they're not actually focusing on the worldly pleasure aspect of it. They're focusing on God in that moment, and they're using that like the pleasure of that moment to get closer to God. It's pretty cool. I am very I think it really can help out a lot and can really give you some very oops. Oh, that's little bugs this stream or well video. It's fine. But the main thing is to tell you what I'm focusing on here. And God is really great, and we by just using the Gita, you can return to it time and again, and always find little chunks of new wisdom that maybe you didn't notice before, and that can really kind of help you out and really give you a stronger understanding of spirituality in general, and I would highly recommend revisiting texts like this. Anyway, thank you all for stopping by, and I hope that you all have an absolutely wonderful day. I hope you know that I love you, and God loves you, and bye-bye, love you, bye. I hope you have a great one. Bye-bye, love you, bye, 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 bye.